Ted is ready.
Amazing. All right, everyone. I don't even know what day it is. I think it's Friday, our typical podcast day. Welcome to the Ice Cut Podcast. My name is Dana. I'm one of your hosts. I'm with one of my besties, my best friend.
What's up, guys? I'm Casey. You
Yay.
already know. Oh,
So,
and we got
and we got Ted, honorary podcast host. We love Ted. So we were gonna interview Danielle and a few of the girls from Teams Elite, but schedules got a little bit mixed up or whatever. It's really hard to coordinate with five different people. So we're actually gonna interview them when they get to Switzerland. So don't stress, like that episode is coming, but we're just gonna make sure that we get them when they're in Switzerland and they're, on their way to their world championships. But we kind of figured today we would talk about our skater journeys. We asked you guys what you guys wanted to hear about. So talking about like our skater journey, because they were very different. Um, Growing up obviously in two different organizations, two different parts of the country, but very different, like college and not college skating, but we both end up in the same place and we're both very successful. So we're just gonna talk about our skating journeys and like how we ended up where we were and how we got to the places we got to and like what we did to like get there essentially. So, Casey, do you want to start with your skating journey because yours again not very different but definitely different from mine.
Yeah, sure. So, I skated synchro for 18 years, started in 2002 on a local team at my home rink in Simsbury, Connecticut. So it was Jagged Ice, which is a youth introductory team. So I don't think that exists anymore. I think that's pre-juvenile now. I think. I'm pretty sure when they changed them, that's what I changed to. But yeah, so I skated on Jagged Ice for 2 years. I think my first season I was six, um, or yeah, six, something like that. And from there, the team kind of folded, and there is another team nearby in Cromwell, Connecticut. So that's about like 40 minutes from me, maybe. Um, Team Millennium, and I ended up skating there for 3 years, cross skating, juvenile, and novice. And they had teams that went to nationals, so that was like a big step up going to like a national qualifying team. So skated there for 3 years, and then those teams were also kind of after my last season, they were also kind of folding. And that was the season that my family decided that we would try out for some skating teams out in Boston because me and my sister were still really, really interested. We loved the sport and we wanted to like continue progressing. So at that point, we tried out for Hayden and the Colonials. I think I also tried out for Skyliners that year too because they're both about 2 hours ish. Skyliners is to the southwest because I'm from like the north part of Connecticut, like right on the Massachusetts border. And then Hayden and Colonials were both about 2 hours like northeast. So either way, kind of split the difference. So at that point, Skyliners were not super, super successful. They were a newer team. I think they had actually branched off from Team Millennium back in the day. I think they had some of the same coaches. Um, so yeah, ended up tried out for Colonials Intermediate, who I think had gotten first or second at nationals the year before. Also tried out for Ice Mates, and I made Ice Mates. My sister ended up skating on Lexettes that season, so we decided to go to Hayden. And Ice Mates were currently like a Team USA team because Novice still competed internationally at that time. So that was how I first ended up getting to like a Team USA team or anything like that. And there was quite a few girls that I skated with on my old team in Connecticut that ended up making the drive to Boston as well. So there was, I think, four of us that were on Ice Mates, and then there was three or four girls that skated on Lexettes as well. So it was kind of nice to have like a carpool coming up from Connecticut. And I think that kind of started it off because through all of my years in high school and everything like that, we had a Connecticut carpool going up. So I skated 4 years on Ice Mates. And then I skated my last years of high school on Lexettes. And then coming out of high school, my goal was skate senior. So I tried out for both Hayden Nets and I wanted to skate for Nexus. Ultimately was my goal. I want to skate Nexus senior. But right around the time of tryouts, I had already tried out for Hayden Nets. Me and my mom were driving to Canada to go to Nexus tryouts because I had gone there to the summer camps and stuff like that in the years prior. Our rental car broke. So at that point, we were kind of like weighing the options. And I had gotten my acceptance letter for Hayden that day. Um, so there was that. And then I also didn't graduate high school until the end of June. And Nexus, at that point at least, started their practices once a week in May, and then their regular season 3 days a week in June. So I was like, I don't know how I'm going to make all of this work. So we ended up deciding I was going to skate for Hayden still. So yeah, come to college. Sorry, this is gonna be like a very long and drawn out story, but come to college, I chose to go to the University of Rhode Island. So it was still about an hour and a half drive to practices, which I was used to. That wasn't too bad because I would drive myself to like practices at Hayden on my own once I was old enough to. But college came a lot of difficulties. I don't want to get too into it, but basically things didn't work out as planned. And ultimately, I had to make one of the hardest decisions I've ever made in my life. I still think about it to this day sometimes, honestly. And I had to step away from the team due to like multiple reasons, family, a whole lot of stuff. But basically, it was a really bad time for me. It was very, very hard, especially because I never thought I'd be a person that quit a team or stepped away from the team. You always know, like, I feel like most teams have a skater that does that every few seasons or so, but you never think it would be you until it is, especially because like I loved skating. I loved the team. I like think I was like pretty okay at it. I don't know. But yeah, so that was a really, really hard for me. And I was like, I'm done skating. I'm moving to like Alaska or like Vancouver or something like that. Just need to get away. Because I was just, yeah, like obviously no one's gonna be in a happy place if they have to leave a team. So then my sister was skating on Team Excel Collegiate at the time, and behind my back, actually, my parents signed me up for Team Excel Collegiate in the meantime, which was a fully sponsorship collegiate team at the time. I don't know if they still are, but so you didn't pay any dues to the team whatsoever. It was like incredible. They had all these donors at the Skating Club of Boston, and they like basically created a sponsorship collegiate team. So yeah. So they were like, oh, come to practice, like see some of your friends, you'll feel better. Because there was a bunch of girls I skated Lex sets with as well that were on the team. And yeah, and then they were like, just kidding, like you're on the team. And I was like, but honestly, it was great. It was everything I needed. Yeah, coming from like a really, really bad place, really hard time in my life. It was nice to be around friends again. Again, I never thought that I would be skating collegiate. I didn't really have a strong desire to skate collegiate because I wanted to continue competing at like such an elite level. Um, but it was really a great opportunity for me at the time. Everyone on the team was super inviting, and met Alice, one of our best friends today, when I went there. So yeah, that was good. That season we ended up getting second at nationals and collegiate. So again, that was like huge. And it was really nice to keep skating. So yeah, fast forward, I stayed on Excel Collegiate for the next season. So my sophomore year of college, and we practiced twice a week. So I think it was Saturdays and Mondays. So that was still in Boston, but a more, I guess, 2 days a week versus four. So that was definitely easier to handle than commuting 4 days a week with school. And then I wanted to try out I really wanted to skate senior, really wanted to skate senior. So I'm sorry, I don't want to get off track. Yeah. So I was graduating college early. I graduated college in just over it was about 2.5 years. But my last semester, I was only taking 3 classes. So just Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I think it was like 9, 11, and 1 p.m. So I actually ended up living at home my last semester of college. That fall semester of like my junior year essentially was when I finished. So I lived at home and commuted to Rhode Island 3 days a week. And then I decided to try out for Skyliners, made Sky Senior, and I was terrified, absolutely terrified, because it was like, I don't know what it's going to be like. Like, I think it was just like my past experience, and I was weighing into that, and I was really, really scared because there's, again, so many different things that had happened before that just kind of weighed in that caused the first experience I had to obviously step away, and that was nothing that I wanted to do again. And everyone was super welcoming. It was a really great experience. So yeah, I went to school Monday, Wednesday, Friday from Connecticut. I worked Tuesday, Thursday. And then Fridays after my last class was over, I would drive from Rhode Island to Stamford, which is about 2 hours. and go to practice Friday and like either drive home or stay with a friend like for the weekend, practice Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that semester was a lot. And then I graduated in December. So then the rest of that time I was just working and skating and skate on Sky Senior for my last 5 seasons of synchro. And through that time, definitely know the struggle of having to be a skater that's working to pay for your skating, because my parents were like, no, we're not doing this, which I get, they had to pay for skating for a long time. They're really nice to do that up until I was in college. And then after that, you know, I don't want to say I was cut off, because that definitely was not the case, but like living at home, paying for skating, and just like working like 40, 50 plus hours a week and like all summer long to save up so I could pay for my skating and continue like chasing those goals. But yeah, Skyliner Senior was an absolutely amazing experience for me. So I have definitely skated all throughout middle school, high school, skated through college and did collegiate, and then did the end of my college career on senior, and then skated senior for the next 4 years, 4.5 years after college as well.
So when did you like officially retire from skating? Like how old were you?
I was 25, so I was planning on retiring after the 2020 World Championships in Lake Placid, and then we all got that beautiful scare thing, and that never happened. So my last competition was nationals in 2020.
Okay.
Um, always wanted to come back, and I think like we talk about it all the time. We're like, oh my god, like we could totally go back. It's fine, but it hasn't happened yet. So now I'm in after retiring from skating, retired in, yeah, so I guess like spring-ish of 2020, because no one really knew what was going on. We still have to having like practices at the end of the season. That'd be another interesting thing for us to like have a pod about, is like the
World.
2020 cluster that everyone was in. But yeah, so we kept having practices after the season, and there's a lot of Zoom calls, and I was getting really frustrated with that personally. I was like, I don't think I can do this. My original goal was to coach full time after retiring. And then, there was COVID and there was no skating. Everything was closed because we were from the Northeast. And so I decided to join the Navy. Decided to join the military because I was like, what's the closest thing I can get to skating? What's the closest thing to a team sport? The military is. And people said I was crazy. And I was like, you know what? Maybe, but here we are. And honestly, it is now just almost 3 years later since it was a really long application process. Took me over a year to get picked up. I'm in flight school to be a naval flight officer. So if you've seen Top Gun, I'm Goose, the backseat person in like the fighter jets. So yeah, basically it took over a year to get like selected for that and get all my medical stuff done and like go away. And I attended officer candidate school in Newport, Rhode Island. It was nice to be back in Rhode Island again. And now I'm in Pensacola, Florida, still in flight school. So yeah, it'll be 3 years in July. And honestly, best experience. Would recommend it to anyone. Actually, I have recommended it to a few teammates. And it really is the closest thing you can get to skating, or at least in my experience, like to a team sport, because you're still surrounded by people of the same age, similar goals, like similar mindset. It keeps you athletic. It's still giving you that same discipline and like time commitment that you're used to from skating. Like it's really easy because your hair is always in a bun and you're told where to be at what time, what to do. Like if you don't like it, it reminds me so much of skating. So it's great. But yeah, that's where I've gone since then.
So a lot of people also like asked a lot of questions about how did you skate for so long, and like what was your like training routine outside of skating, right? Because being an athlete is not just being an athlete on the ice, but you have to be an athlete off the ice, like train off the ice. Like, what did you do? Like, what did you eat? Especially like if you remember, like in high school, like, did you even have a training routine? Like out of high school, what did that look like? And like, what did it look like when you got to being a little bit older and like obviously more disciplined? Because, right, as you get older, you typically find the things that you need to do to be successful. When you're younger, you're usually like, okay, like whatever, like I'll do that when I feel like it. But like obviously being 23, 24, 25, like very disciplined was like how you were being really successful, right?
Yeah. So I think through high school, like, most teams have some sort of fitness thing going on. So like middle school, high school, whatever, all that stuff, like did team fitness. And like, I think you did like whatever sort of like, I I feel like fitness wasn't as big back then because it's like, like 2012 was before like the whole like Instagram fitness blow up type thing. Um, and like all the Gymshark girlies and stuff like that. But so like I don't think I really had like a strict regimen or anything like during that point. It was just kind of like work out, like do abs at your house and like um yeah, that type of stuff. Go running outside, but like really didn't know what I was doing. I went to school for exercise science, so that was definitely helpful. College, I definitely suffered from the freshman 15 for sure. Um, Again, the freshman year of college, I was having like a lot of difficulty going on. Like life was just kind of blowing up around me, so that was not the easiest. But as I got through college, I was working as a strength and conditioning coach. That's what I really wanted to do. So I picked up some really good habits working with the Quinnipiac hockey and basketball teams when I was interning with them, and started doing a lot of strength training on my own, like with barbells. So like squatting, deadlifting, all of that type of stuff, which maybe before, like without taking my classes, and then like also like working on training teams to do the same thing. Like I didn't have all that much knowledge of it on my own before. So really got involved in fitness then. And then while I was on Skyliners, I worked at Orange Theory Fitness as a coach, as well as like did some other group training or strength and conditioning training for like sports teams, stuff like that as like my job. And uniquely, both me and Dana worked for Orange Theory. We both coached for Orange Theory. And that was what I found to be the most effective for like workouts during the season. Like my last few seasons, I felt really, really good going to Orange Theory. I typically went like most days of the week because I worked, like my work schedule was really uh, all over the place. It's probably not good, but you got to make the money so you can skate. Like I would like close at 8 p.m., open at 4 a.m., close the next day at 8 p.m., open the next day at 4 a.m., and then like go skate that night and like try and like work it out when my shift was over or something like that. But yeah, really, really loved Orange Theory. Health wise, I have never had the best diet. I'm not going to lie. So I'm probably not the person to ask for that. Skating was probably not the best. I relied a lot, super, super heavily on like protein bars. I'm gluten free as well. So that one was a bit harder to navigate. Try and take snacks as you can with competitions. But yeah, I'd eat a ton of protein bars. But yeah, I'm probably not the best person to ask for that because I definitely wouldn't consider myself to be the person with the healthiest diet. But let's get to Dana before we kind of go too far down the rabbit hole on me. Let's start with your journey and kind of get up to this point, and then we kind of move forward together from there. So tell us about your skating history.
Okay, I I started skating when I was like really, really, really little, like to the point where like my first skating experience, I was so small that they didn't have skates that fit my feet. I think I was like 2 years old and I was skating in my shoes. So like my family used to go around and do like random like ice skating trips, whatever, go to like public skate or whatever, like because my cousins
Mhm.
skated. So
Yeah, I think I was two as well.
yeah, so like real little shoes on the ice, like had a blast. But I first started synchro when I was probably like 4 or 5, and I did ISI. So very similar to like you, like not getting into anything that was like super, super big. But I got into an ISI team when I was living in Milwaukee, and I was so small, like very tiny. And they were like, yeah, okay, sure, like she can be a part of it, but like just be careful, like she might hurt herself. She's very small. Um, but I knew that like it was really, really fun, so I just kept going with it. And then I ended up skating on Wisconsin Edge for a while. I think I skated Wisconsin Edge. It was youth and prelim. So like youth is now I think like pre-juve or something like that. But I skated youth and prelim a couple years, and then I tried out for the juvie team. So if any of you know who Sarah Arnold is, Sarah Arnold and I skated together when we were really little. And we were very similar, but Sarah's a little bit older than me. And she was a little bit taller than me. So they were like, she's too small to skate Juve. And I was like, okay, well, I really want to skate Juve. I think I can do it. And I've always been relatively short and relatively small. So I tried out for Blades that season, and made Fond du Lac Blades Juve, which was like the highlight of my life at that time. I think I was like maybe 7 or 8, and I was like, this is amazing. I don't think we qualified for nationals my first year on Juve, but we definitely did the second year. And that's where I cross skated intermediate and juvenile my second year. Um, I skated, like, our intermediate team was really, really good that year, but Blades intermediate for a long time was like the top intermediate team. And so I skated on that team for a while. So it was like intermediate and juve. My second year was intermediate. I skated almost like every level with Blades. Um, at one point we had a novice team. Our poor novice team was crazy because we had 6 cross skaters from our novice to junior team that year, and I felt so bad because our poor novice skaters were just exhausted the entire time, and I was like, I'm never gonna cross skate like that's crazy, that's exhausting. But I skated novice, and then when I was 12, I skated junior. Should not have been on junior. Shout out to Jenny McMahon and Heather Puggle for allowing me to be on junior at 12 years old, skating with kids who were like 17, 18, 19 years old. I think the only reason I made junior was because I was willing to push myself and really be like really push myself out of the box. Like knowing full on that I was joining the team that I probably wasn't going to skate at all. I was very lucky that I got to skate one program. I think I only skated the short that year the entire season. Like there was no way I was making it through a junior free skate at 12 years old. Like thank God they changed the rules. Um, but I was very fortunate to have that experience and like be on a Team USA team that young. Unfortunately, Blades Junior for a couple years after that ended up folding. We didn't have enough kids, I don't
I
think.
can't hear you. I don't know if your thing cut out. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Oh, I think it must be me.
Oh, not the internet.
Oh, you're back. You're back. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. It might be because the internet at my house is down or we don't have any power. So it could be my phone's just being
Oh,
weird. Okay. Sorry.
no, you're good. But then so after I skated junior, the junior team folded a little bit and we moved down to intermediate. So I skated intermediate a couple years after that. I always knew that I wanted to skate in college. Like I wanted to skate on a senior team and like be on those top level teams. I thought that I wanted to skate in college, but I actually didn't. So by the time I was a sophomore, yeah, I was a sophomore in high school when I tried out for Starlights. I tried out for the junior team because I was like, you know what, I want to skate junior. And my thought when I was younger was I want to go to Miami. I want to skate in college. I want to go to Miami. Like that's gonna be my dream school. Like, do I want to try out for Haydenets? Yes, I do, but I don't know if I'm okay like not doing skating in school at the same time. So that was a big life choice for me. Because after my years on Starlights, I skated one more year my freshman year of college, and then I didn't skate the other 4 years in college. Like I just did dance. I didn't do any freestyle because the girl really still just does not like to jump. It's not for me. Spin, sure. Jump, singles. I got you. Half axel, my best jump. But like I didn't like all my moves had been finished, but I didn't finish my dances and I like lost my passion for ice dance when I was younger. So when I stopped doing synchro my sophomore year of college, I made it my like job to finish all my dances and work through my international dances by the time I finished. And like I truly didn't know that I wanted to go back and skate, but I did athletic training in college. And with me being in college, my brother being in college, and me doing athletic training, it just wasn't financially or time wise feasible for me to skate and do college at the same time. Like you were very lucky you had that opportunity to skate for like Team Excel and like your school schedule was being like doing exercise science was very different than doing athletic training. Like you still had clinicals, but like your clinicals weren't at like 8 p.m. on a Friday night, like after having to do like all of your schoolwork and study and exams. Like athletic training was crazy. So if you're ever thinking about going into it, it's for a very specific breed of people. That breed of people is not me. It's just not. Um, Loved what I was learning, but it wasn't something that I could sustain financially and like emotionally and physically in college. So I put all my focus into ice dance. Um, I did ice dance for 3 years, but like not like with a partner ice dance, I finished all my dances. So like I partnered all the rest of my dances up through my golds. And I did like a handful of internationals. At like it was like my junior year of college, so like a year or so later, that I decided I wanted to go back and actually skate again. Like I wanted to go back, I wanted to be competitive. I wanted to skate on a senior team again, and I wanted to be really good. Like that was really my goal. So I ended up trying out for Hayden and I tried out for Skyliners, which is a very common thing that like basically anyone leaving college is going to end up doing. You're going to try out for the two top teams. Um, I ended up being rejected from Haydenettes, like completely rejected. Not even like a spring training offer. I was completely rejected from Haydenettes. But I got a spring training offer from Skyliners. And so I was going from like finishing up my senior year of college, like literally, I think I had graduation, and then the next day we had like practices for spring training. So I was like working through finishing up my senior year of college, going through spring training. And when I graduated college, I packed up all my stuff and I said, Mom, I'm moving to New York. I'm going to go skate for a year and we're going to see what happens. Well, 1 year turned into 6. Um, and yeah, so like I didn't skate in college, which is really common for a lot of kids these days, or they just don't necessarily like know the opportunities that they have available. Um, but yeah, then I skated the next 6 years on Skyliners, and my last season was the 21-22 season. And like I wouldn't change my skating journey for the world. Was I a little bit like down and sad when I decided that skating in college wasn't for me, or that like I couldn't do all that at the same time? Yeah, absolutely. I like almost stopped skating for a year before I was like, I need to go back. Like I have unfinished business. I'm not done yet. I need to finish my dances, blah, 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 and like move on from there. Um, but yeah, I actually made a pact with myself because like I skated for a long time and people are like, oh my God, you're like the oldest person in senior for like 5 years. I was like, yeah, I know. I get it. Like I I did make a pact with myself though, and I told this to Josh, like a few seasons before I retired. I was like, I'm not skating when I'm 30. Like I'm just not. Like, I don't know why I said that, but I was like, I'm just not skating when I'm 30. And like, I remember at the end of the 22 season, I had applied to grad school because I thought I was going to go to Tennessee. Um, but I like told him I got into Tennessee, and he like looked at me and he was like, You're not you're not skating again? I said, Do you remember when I told you that I'm not skating when I'm 30? And he was like, Yeah, I know, but like, are you sure? So like I made sure that I stopped skating. I finished my skating career at 29 years old, which is very strange and very uncommon for people like in the senior division. Like I think Steven might be the oldest person now. Or maybe it's Leah.
Maybe.
It's either Steven or Leatrice that are the two oldest in the senior division right now. But like Leatrice is, I think she's only like 27. Leatrice, I'm sorry if you're older or younger than 27, but I think you're 27 or less. Like, I don't think she's that old. But
Yeah.
like, it's just not common for people to skate into their late 30s, or not late 30s. Oh my God, late 20s in senior, you know?
Hmm. I think most people either drop out after like high school or after college, but there's not very many people that continue after college. I think also because like of the senior teams in the country right now, there's only 4 of them and 2 of them are college teams. So not a whole lot of opportunities. Like I think there used to be more, but right now not so much.
Yeah. But like, when it comes to like my training, mine was very similar to yours. Like, when I was 12 on junior, I don't remember doing any kind of fitness. Like, fitness was like not a thing when we were younger. And like it wasn't until we got to Starlights, or like until I got to Starlights, where like we would have specific days where we would do fitness. So that's when it started to like ramp up for me. And then yeah, it wasn't until I got to Skyliners where I like really dialed into my fitness, and I was like, I'm working out like 5 days a week or 4 or 5 times a week, and I'm going to skating practice. So like when people ask me, like Sandy, our like physiotherapist, our like sports therapist, when we were at Skyliners, she would ask me this all the time. She'd be like, I don't understand how you do it. Like she's like, I don't mean to sound mean, but like you're old, man. Like, how do you do it? Um, and I said to her one day, I was like, I don't know, but I think it's because I treat myself like I think of myself as like an Olympic athlete. Like, should I? Am I Madison Shock and Evan Bates? Absolutely not. But like, I made sure
You're
that
basically Tom Brady.
yeah. Oh my God, absolutely not. That man's the GOAT.
44 years old, still doing senior synchro. It's fine.
Dude, I thought about going back this year. I heard apparently
I know,
people were upset with me that I didn't go to tryouts. Sorry.
bro. We say this every year. We're like, can I go back to Skyliners? I'm like, do you think the military will let me skate? It's
Yeah.
fine. I'll figure it out. Like, or like I think you said you were like Lacey Prem's tryouts are coming out. Nova's tryouts are coming out. And we're like, who will take our old washed up asses? Like,
Who will take me on their roster?
I
But
promise together.
yeah.
Put me in.
But yeah, like I treated myself very much like an athlete. Like it took me a while to work up to 5 days a week of like Orange Theory because yeah, we both worked at Orange Theory but different studios and like different locations. But I was like by the time the 22 the 21-22 season came around, like COVID for me was a huge shift in my fitness where like I was like I have to work out now like because I didn't know what else to do. So I was like running a lot. I would like because I was still in the mode of like, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna keep skating. So like I was running like 3 miles a day. I was doing our ballet classes with Paula. I was doing fitness with Sandy. So like I was working out like 3 times a day. Not that like Paula was really fitness, but like I was doing 3 things a day. And like sometimes I would even do a fourth one because I was like, well, I'm bored. Like I don't know what else to do. But but yeah, by the time we got to the 21-22 season, I was working out like 5 days a week. And I was eating the healthiest that I'd ever been eating. Like I would eat salads every day. My protein intake, I think, was like over 100 grams of protein like every day. Like I was so dialed into my fitness. And then like I graduated from skating and I retired and I was like, I really just want like tater tots. like like can I have some chicken tendies and some tater tots? So like my fitness and my like skating or my like food obviously like went awry, but like yeah, that's really how I did it so long was that like I straight up treated myself as though I was an Olympic athlete doing whatever I could to be at the top of my level. And like it was it fun all the time? No, but like I felt really good and I thought it was okay. Like
Yeah. So what have you been doing since like retiring from skating? Like,
since I retired. It's only been
or
like
did you retire at the end of that season too? Like, how did that come about?
so I knew so obviously with Worlds in 2020 being canceled, I felt like I had unfinished business. Like I still like I was like there is still something that I need to complete in my skating career. And Megan McDevitt she was having her ankle surgery and I was trying to convince her to come back. I was like, "Megan, one more year, like let's do it together. Like let's close this chapter of our lives together." So I convinced her to come back for one more season and we basically knew that like we were taking like helping the team from COVID transfer into the same mentality and the same like energy that we used to have on that team. Like we were bringing in a whole new group of kids. There was like literally 4 of us because it was me, Megan. Oh, so there's 5. Me, Megan, Cassidy, Melski, and Molly. The 5 of us made it our mission to be sure that like Sky Senior would never die as a legacy, that like just because COVID happened, that we were going to make this team just as successful as it was before. So like me and Megan came back as like the leaders on the team and really like tried to instill the same like drive and values that we had when we skated with that core group of people in the same group that like we were now going to then push into the new like era of Skyliners. Like that's really what we were doing. So that was kind of our mission. And I remember like her and I both being like, yeah, this is it. We're done. We have a job to do for the next like however many months. and like we are not gonna think twice about it. Like this is our job. We're gonna push them to be sure that like we keep that same energy, that they can push themselves and that they can be as successful as we were because we believe in them. But like we can't do this anymore. And there'd be definitely practices where we were like, yep, I'm okay closing this chapter of my book. And I just remember Megan and I like sitting, like we got off the ice, we saved our tears until after we got our scores because we saw our scores and we're like, okay, we're not going to Worlds, we're gonna end up in third. It is what it is. Like we're okay. Um, and we get our pictures taken. And the minute pictures are over, Megan McDevitt and I sitting in the picture area, holding hands, sobbing. I don't think I've ever ugly cried worse in public ever in my life. I've never seen Josh be so concerned about me in his life. Like the dude was like, "Are you gonna be okay?" And I was like ugly sobbing. I was like, "I'm gonna be fine." But like, yeah, I just knew that like I had to give myself a timeline. So I was like, I'm done skating. Like I'm gonna put my journey on someone else and like I'm gonna do that. But then I got into coaching. Um, as many or most people know, I coached Adrian College senior and collegiate and the figure skating team right after I retired. That was a huge step to take. Most people know this story, but I went into it looking at interview skills because I didn't think I was qualified for the job. I didn't think that that was something that I could do. I was like, I competed against half these kids last year. What do you mean you're going to allow me to coach them? Uh, and that was one of Adrian's more successful years as a skating program. So again, I coached collegiate, senior, and the figure skating team. Never coached figure skating before. That was awesome. That was a really fun experience. Um, and then through like personal reasons, I decided to leave Adrian and then I moved down to South Carolina where I started coaching with Eastern Elite, which is like so that's the national qualifying teams for Carolina Ice Synchro, which has been really fun. I have connected with an old teammate, so Sasha, her last name now is Bucci, but she will always be Sasha Schneider in my phone. Sasha and I coached together for Eastern Elite, which has been really fun. It's definitely a step back from what I was coaching. Obviously, novice and senior and collegiate are very different. But it's fun to like develop the kids in the way that you want them to teach, or not to teach, but you want them to learn and how you can create them into being much better people. And then, it's fun to watch them go and go off to other teams, like, because that's our job as like developmental coaches. Like, my job is not to be sure that you're going to stay here for the rest of your life, but my job is to make sure that you're skilled enough and you're good enough of a person to go skate on the teams that like need senior level kids or like need junior level kids. So it's fun to watch them grow and like go off and skate for higher level teams that like we know that they deserve to be on. So
Love that. Um, so something that came up or came to my mind at least while we were talking is we both well, two things. One, cross skating. And two, being the young one on the team. So I think we're both like we both skated so much older than the average person. I think we were also both in the position where we were like, I think some people now, at least like I think novice now, you're like, I think novice intermediate, you can be 19 years old now, as same as junior. I don't know if they raised on any of those, but like you were like, I was on juvie when I was 7 or 8, and I was on juvie when I was 9, and I skated my first season of novice when I was 9, and you skated junior when you were 12. So I think that's something to bring up because that's definitely not the way things are now. Um,
Well,
so
you see lots of clubs, like we can take the really big name clubs like Teams Elite and Skyliners and the Hayden organization. And you look at all those kids and like their top level is either junior or senior. So like they're getting a lot of those kids and they're pushing them to their top team. Where like for Teams Elite, for example, like their top junior team, all those kids are so incredibly talented that they should be skating on a senior team. Like they could skate on any senior team in the country and fit right in. Like they could be a senior team. Like if you looked at their short program score, like the junior team short program score with the same amount of elements, I think they're slightly different, but the same amount of elements is scoring higher than some senior teams around the world. And like that's incredible. So like their organization, like those kids, not that they're capped at junior, but like they choose to have their top level team be just so incredible and they like leave those kids there for a while. Like I think their junior team is relatively new this year, so like that team staying together for a long time is going to be such a powerhouse. And like they just have so many kids to choose from that like you could be at the age cap on novice, but you were on that team for like the last 5 years because you could skate on that team for the last 5 years. And like you can be the absolute best novice skater in the country. Like they just have so many kids to choose from that they're like, I'm going to stockpile this team with my best, like my older best kids that can fit in this division. And like they do a really good job with it. Like they medaled in they won every division they competed in at nationals. Like it's insane.
Yeah. I think it's also just like the times are different a bit too. Cause like back in the day, I remember like on Hayden Nets, most of the girls were in high school. They all went to Lexington High School. Like
Mhm.
everyone who skated Lexington until 2007, when I think I first made the team. They used to have like a Lexington only policy. So they get ice at Hayden for like free or very, very cheap. So I think it like has a lot to do with that. Like I think just in general, like all of the teams were younger. And I
Mhm.
think there was organizations didn't have as many teams, like because when I was on Ice Mates, my first season, Ice Cubes had left, so they made Mini Mates, and Lexettes, I think, were a new team too because they had lost Black Pearl, but they didn't have intermediate until when I was on junior. They created an intermediate team because they had so many skaters from juvie that didn't have a place to go to novice. So that's when they created their intermediate team, and I think that's the same way as like now Skyliners and Team Image both have like two novice teams or two intermediate teams, and these big areas of skaters are starting to grow and grow and grow. But they want a place for all of the skaters to be able to skate, which is really nice. And then also like they have so many talented skaters. It's like why would we turn them away? And like that interest in the sport, I think in the lower levels, the sport is really really growing. Like there's a like Aspire now. There's like 4 different levels of Aspire teams that you can have. So that's bringing so many more kids into the sport. But then I also think like financially and stuff like that, it's becoming less attainable in like the upper divisions. That's why there's less senior teams, less junior teams than when we were in senior and junior, like originally. Um, yeah. And then also cross skating is what we were going to talk about. So how many seasons did you cross skate and what were your thoughts?
So I only cross skated one season. I was very thankful to cross skate. But I like the coaches at Blades were really awesome because they made my place very clear. Like I know sometimes cross skating is really like not that it's wishy-washy, but it's hard to know exactly where you are in the lineup for both teams. Like I knew going into it that like I was going to have a full spot on juvenile, but I was sharing a spot on intermediate. Like that for me was very clear. And like I like to think I'm very self-aware, and I knew that at 10 years old, skating with kids who were like 16, 17 years old, that I wasn't going to keep up. So like I knew when I skated on intermediate that like I genuinely thought I wasn't going to skate a single competition. Like I really did. I was like, I'm on the team, I'm sharing a spot. I know I'm going to skate on Juve and like maybe I'll skate a spot on intermediate. So like I think it was a good experience because I got to learn how to skate faster. I got to learn how to skate with older kids. I got to learn new things, but it was definitely like I had no expectations going in where I know sometimes when people cross skate that they have these like very large expectations of like I'm skating both teams and I have a full spot in both programs. So I think some of that's on the coaches to be like, yes, you're cross skating. This is where you have a full spot. I will tell you, you will be sharing in this program and you will have to potentially fight for a skating spot. But like, you're here to learn, you're here to grow as a skater, and you're here to like learn the program. Because sometimes coaches don't like lay that out very like easily. Like, it's like, oh, you're just cross skating on both teams, and like it's wishy washy on like what exactly like your focus or your goal is.
Mhm. Yeah, I cross skated for 5 seasons. And I actually absolutely loved it. Like cross skating is my favorite thing. Like I wanted to cross skate junior and senior if I could, like novice to junior, like I would have loved to. I loved cross skating, loved every second of it. Like I would always learn the other team's programs just because I would like sit and watch practice. Like when my sister was on a different division than I was, like I'd just sit there and watch and like I'd learn their programs too. Um, but so I did 4 seasons of juvenile novice and then one that was intermediate to junior. And I think there's 2 different ways that it goes, and organizations that don't have enough people are very different than organizations that do. Because my first 3 seasons, I cross skated juvie novice. Originally I was on juvie, got pulled up to novice, and I skated both programs, like both teams. And I remember there was a lot of us cross skating juvie to novice, and so even though there was a lot of girls that were like really tall, there was also a large chunk of us that were 9 or 10 and very small, still on novice. So we all skated because we needed the people. And then like my last 2 seasons, I was at Hayden, so I cross skated not I was on ice mates and then cross skated down to mini mates the first year that they had mini mates, because again they kind of needed some skaters, or they were anyone who's age eligible pretty much cross skated down, in which case I obviously skated juvie, but I was not rostered on, or I was rostered but didn't skate novice because we had 15 returning skaters, only skated 16, and we had 23 on the roster. So my first season didn't skate, but I did end up skating juvie. And then when I was on junior, I was actually on like set skating on junior and then cross skated down to intermediate, because again it was the first year that they made the team. They only had 17 people, including I think 6 cross skaters. So they needed the bodies, so I ended up skating there too. But I think the way it typically works is, I think either organizations, again, like if they're kind of hurting for skaters, then they may pull up girls from the lower levels and have them cross skate up, and they'll skate both programs, or anyone who's age eligible will cross skate. Or a lot of the, I guess, bigger organizations that have a lot more skaters, a lot of the time those skaters will cross skate up a level, but they won't skate at the higher level. But it's more to kind of train them for the next season, so that way they'll be able to step into those shoes. And like, you're going to compete on juvie, but you're not going to compete on intermediate. But now you're training the intermediate program, and you're training those elements. You know what to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of again like my vibe was like I'm skating on Juve, but really you're mostly training on intermediate. Like you'll be lucky if you get a competition, and like it was nice that they like made that really clear. What's your opinion on cross skating junior to senior? Because I would like to point out, 2 seasons in a row this has happened now. One team had a bunch of kids cross skate from junior to senior, and now this season there's only one person doing it. What's your opinion, obviously, on like how that, like, what was that like last year? Like, what do you think? Was that a good idea? And like, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think it's a good idea for a large amount of skaters to do it. Like, I think like if it's a team that has like 8 cross skaters junior senior, probably not a good idea. But I think like 4 or less you could pull off. And like personally, I would have loved to cross skate junior to senior. So I know it's definitely hard. I know it's a lot to handle for those skaters. And I think like the higher level organizations you're in, the more demanding it is. And as the seasons go on, like the elements get harder. It's just more and more demanding on the skaters. But like, if I was allowed the opportunity, I would have loved to do it. It's a lot to handle, especially to balance between school and skating and everything else going on. If the teams don't have practices on the same days, then you have an extra day of skating. Sometimes that's easier, because, your focus can go to this team on this day and that team on that day, and it's not as long of a day. The one risk is injuries, that they can be more common. You don't want to get into overuse injuries, but usually if you're in high school, you're still kind of okay with that. I don't know how skaters would do that with college, because I think that there are probably a couple out there that have. That would be a lot, but I don't know. I think junior senior is okay as long as you can balance and it's not like a large chunk of the team.
Oh, I'm the
What do you
complete
think?
opposite. I'm the opposite. Like, I don't think I think senior, if you do it right, should be demanding enough that you shouldn't and you couldn't cross gate down. That's not to say that like junior can't be demanding, but like obviously we skated on senior for so long, we know how tough it is to be on a senior team and like be on a successful senior team. So like I think it's too much. This is my personal opinion. I think it's too much for people for skaters, no matter how talented or how much time they have or how much energy they have, to cross skate senior to another team. I just think that that is absolutely insane. So like shout out to all the kids who did that last year because I know how challenging that can be. But also shout out to like Maddie Jarvis. She skates Sky Senior and Sky Junior. She is in college. Like that girl is incredible. She like kudos to her for being on both now like world teams. That's absolutely insane. And like having that crazy practice schedule, like she's like if you watch her out on the ice, like you would never know that she like at nationals, you would never know she competed 4 days in a row. Like amazing job. But yeah, I personally, if I was given the opportunity, I would never do it. And I know like when I coached Adrian Senior, there were a couple girls who were like, "Can I cross skate?" And I was like, "No, there's no cross skating between like senior and a different division." I just think that it's way too much. And like I'm sure some of them were upset that I didn't let them cross skate, but like I think it's too much. But that's a personal opinion. So everyone can make their own choices. And if there is an opportunity to cross skate, go for it. And you want to do it, absolutely go for it. It definitely wouldn't be something that I would choose to do.
And like I would cross skate a million times over. I loved it. I loved every second. I was just like a crazy skating kid. Like to this day, if I could go skate Sky Senior and Sky Junior, I would in a heartbeat. But you know, um, so one thing we just touched on, like, or kind of brought up was cross skating is injuries. So, coming back from injuries, have you had any major injuries skating, and then how did that affect like your career? I guess, anything that caused you to stop skating, take a break, anything like that?
No, I have been very fortunate to never have a massive skating injury. The only thing I ever had was, do you remember? So you probably remember this when I had my ankle bump. That was the
Mhm.
only thing I had, and it was like this big. I have to this day I still have no idea what it was. I think it was a bursa on my ankle that was so incredibly painful. My second year on Sky, like I remember like this is really bad and nobody tell my mom. But I was taking like 4 Advils like before we go to practice. I'd be like, I just don't want to feel my ankle. That was the only thing that I had that was like really bad. But after a while, it just resolved itself,
Oh,
it just it just magically got better. I've never had any injury, anything
oh,
bad.
you're lucky.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. You, on the other hand, I know you had some stuff.
No, I've had a lot. Looking back, I think I'm lucky enough to have never had any concussions though, so I will take that. Um,
I
let's
lied.
see.
I lied. I did have a concussion once that I didn't tell anybody about. And I won't tell anyone when it was because I skated through it. Don't do that,
That's
kid. It's not a good thing.
smart. Yeah, I know there were some girls on our team that had like permanent like damage from those before. I remember for not like taking enough rest time. Um, so not synchro related, but I broke my shoulder doing novice moves back in the day when they had the quick rockers. My heel got stuck in a hole, and then I went to turn and fell with my arm extended and broke my shoulder. That was great. When I was in eighth grade on Ice Mates, it was the first year that they had no point intersections, and I broke my wrist because me and my friend clicked blades in the no point, and I caught myself on my wrist and broke my wrist. Um, and then my senior year of high school, I think that was like the first like big one. I had a cyst and that grew on the back of my ankle. Probably sometime towards like the later part of the season. I remember at Worlds, I had to like take my at Junior Worlds, I had to take my skate off like immediately because I like couldn't put my foot in my skate at that point. And it was like either I could skate with it the next season, and just like hope for the best. But they did say that if it burst, then it could like fracture my foot or get it removed. So after the season was over, asked Saga and the team managers, and they told me to get surgery. So I had to get that removed. I was on crutches for like a month or something like that because they had to like, I don't know, do whatever to get it taken out. And then most of my like big issues were on Skyliners. I had two major ones there. So the first one was I had like, I guess I think it was really just like some sort of super aggressive lace bite. Shout out if anyone's having really big problems with that, get some new tongues in your skates and save yourself a lot of the pain. My first season on Sky, and I think it persisted through my second season as well. This was not good, but on our way to California, so first competition of the season in November, like my ankle was so bad, like I was like struggling to walk. So I went to a walking clinic in New York City. while I was like on my way to the airport, and the doctor prescribed me Percocet for my ankle. And she was like, take one on the plane, make sure that it doesn't like affect you in any weird ways. Like, and if you feel good, then skate with it. She was going to give me morphine, but said that probably wasn't a good idea, which I'm glad she didn't. And I got like a couple cortisone shots in my ankle that got resolved for a bit until it came back when we were in Switzerland. And I was like, I was in tears through all of official practice. I couldn't even walk. Like it was really, really, really bad. And I skated on Percocet for the remainder of the season. Every practice I take 4 Advil and 1 or maybe 2 Percocet to get through practice. Um, it was really bad. It was very, very bad. And my mom was like terrified I was going to become addicted to drugs. I highly don't recommend that to anyone, but you know what? It worked for me at the time. Again, not recommending that to anyone. Definitely should not be skating on drugs like that. And at the time, I didn't care because all I wanted to do was skate. So it's like, mom, like it's fine. It's only on the weekends. But thankfully, eventually that got resolved. I got a new. I had like multiple cortisone shots in my ankle. Also, don't recommend if you don't need those, because it ate away like everything around the tendon in my ankle. It's like really gross. Still to this day, like 6, 7 years later, it looks disgusting. But yeah, do not recommend if you're having any sort of lace bite issues. Get a new tongue in your skate, and it will help, or at least it did for me. So, and then I also had a torn labrum in my hip on my about my 3rd, 4th season on Sky. I tore the labrum in my hip, and towards the end of my 4th season, so the 2019 season, it was painful, but I was okay until I wasn't. And around just after nationals, I just started falling a lot because my hip would just give out. It didn't want to hold me anymore because I knew something was wrong. So I was a person who like fell very rarely to skating, and I just started falling all the time, like doing easy stuff like crossovers, and then I just like collapse, or like did a twizzle. Like the twizzle was fine. I didn't catch an edge or anything. Like and then just like sit down. And I official practices at Worlds. Never fell in a competition before in my life. I don't know if I ever fell. I think I fell in official like, on novice once, but like again, didn't fall a lot. So that was very like atypical. I got screamed at. And I've never been more scared in my life than going to compete the long program at Worlds because I was like, my body can't hold me up anymore. Like it's just dropping me because like my hip is not okay. Like there's nothing I can do about it. I don't know when it's gonna come, but like I'm in this pain and like my body's like nah, and then it just like cuts it off. So I was so scared, and thankfully all the stars aligned and I made it through that program on 2 feet the entire time. And then after Worlds, I had to make the difficult decision to get surgery. So I had a labral tear repair on my left hip. And I remember talking with the coaches about it. And again, they were like, I don't know, maybe not. Probably if you don't have to, don't do it, because some people said it could take 6 months to a year, maybe more, to recover or get back to normal, which is terrifying, right? Because that's an entire season. But there was another girl on our team who said she had the same thing in high school, and for her, it turned out really well. And I heard a lot of horror stories too, but she was like, definitely do it. Like, especially at that point, I kind of didn't have a choice because even if I was okay in daily life, which I wasn't, I think it hurt most days anyways. But like if I tried to skate, I'd fall constantly because it was just giving out. So I went to a sports doctor, and he's like, this is who we normally send people to. This is who I went to and all my friends went to, and this is who I'd recommend for you. He does like NHL players, he does this and that and that. So I took the leap of faith. This guy was awesome. He said, you'll be better in 3 months. It'll still hurt, but you can do everything you want to, and it'll be getting better, not worse. So if anyone out there has a labral tear sort of issue, anything like that, go to Dr. Joyce in Glastonbury, Connecticut. And like literally a absolute miracle worker, like saved my life. I had surgery in May. I was skating at boot camp, like perfectly normal, like nothing had happened. It still hurt, but like again, it wasn't any worse than the pain I was in before. And I skated the entire next season, like without a hitch. So yeah, that's my sort of injury spiel. So do your best, keep stretching. Thankfully never had any bad like tears or anything like that. I know some people do, or no back issues.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I remember, I will never forget to this day the time that we finished the Twizzles in short program official, and we had like a falling leaf out of the out of the Twizzles to like skate back up the ice. And I will never forget that I just like we both jumped and then you fell and I kept going and I was like, oh God, there she goes. Like, sorry.
Were
I
we
got
never,
boom.
were you- I think like skating that direction, it went Tasha, me, you, right?
Yeah, well, our line was Tasha, you, no, Tasha, Emily Kirilov.
I was behind Tasha, but then I think it was Emily and then you, right?
Yeah, I was at the end. Yeah, I did skirt to get to Emily. And I like rushed up there every single time. I was like, sorry, gotta go. And you fell down and I was like, bye, I gotta go. Like my spot's leaving me.
Dude, that was bad. I just like straight up face planted out of that thing.
Yeah, like you just missed your foot and then just like to the floor.
Yeah, and then I fell after the Twizzles in the long too, but like I finished the Twizzles. Like they were both really good Twizzles, and then just like boom. And like it was like, that's twice. And I was like,
And you're like,
I know
I'm sorry. I
there.
But yeah, that's our skating journeys. They're both very like non-traditional. Um, so if people think that you have to go in a traditional path where you have to stay somewhere for a while, or like skating in college just isn't for you, or like even competing synchro in college isn't for you, or whatever you want to do, like this is just goes to show that everyone's skating journey is different and everyone's skating journey is unique to them, but you can still end up being extremely successful in the sport. It's very obvious between the two of us that like you can make lifelong friends along the way and be successful and love skating, but it's okay to take breaks sometimes too. So, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening to our podcast. Like we said in the beginning, we're going to come out with our episode with Teams Elites in the next couple of days when they're in Switzerland. So we're very excited to meet with a couple of skaters and meet with Danielle and kind of talk about their experiences. So I'm very excited. But yeah, anything else, Case?
No, I don't think so. Oh, Play Fantasy Synchro. Junior Worlds is up and ready to go. You got, I think what? We've got a week until Junior Worlds. Is today Friday? Yeah. So 1 week. Let us know who you think's gonna win.
Yeah. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on YouTube. We're going to start putting in our shameless plugs at the end. But
Yes.
thanks for listening, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Bye.